Well, it's Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. You know what that means. It means that the revolution will not be televised. It's going to be streamed. We so appreciate each and every one of you taking the time out of your day, out of your schedule to connect with this power-packed session that we seek to engage you on a weekly basis. I'm here with my main man, my brother,
Yes, sir.
this brilliant brainiac, this gift to the kingdom of God, this gift to the world, Dr. Ricky Allman. What's up, man?
I'm good. All I'm going to say to what you just said is it takes one to know one. So that's all I got to say. So everything you said to me, it applies to you. What is that old game they used to play when we were kids? I'm rubber, you glue.
That's it. You
So
just went
whatever.
way back.
Yeah. I went back to childhood. I don't even want to check the date on that. Yeah, man. It's good to see you. How was your week?
Man, this week was a great week. You pressed me, almost forced me. I
I
mean,
did.
Ricky almost got abusive with me and made
Wow. I just pulled the big brother card. Every now and then I have to take advantage, of the fact that I'm the elder brother.
Yes, sir. It's there. I love you for it. I appreciate it. But it's been
Yes,
a
sir.
week of rest, relaxation, renewal, unplugging, so that I could plug back in and be more effective and efficient. So thank you for pushing me in that regard, sir.
Well, actually, my pushing you motivated our subject and focus for today. And before I reveal it, I want to tell who this
Yes.
visual podcast is for. The revolution will not be televised, it will be streamed, is for everybody, as I like to say, who wants to maximize their potential, mobilize their purpose, and multiply their productivity. Let me say it again. If you want to maximize what's within you, if
Yes,
you
sir.
want to mobilize what's around you, and if you want to multiply what's for you, I can't make it any plainer than that.
That's it.
This show is for you. So it doesn't matter what context of leadership or life you're in, where you have influence, if you're trying to move forward, this is the place you want to be. And we're so glad that you're here. Those that are watching us on the Revolution Facebook group, in the Revolution Facebook group, we're so glad that you're here. We want to encourage you to invite other leaders in your life circle. Invite them to join this group. We've got some exciting things coming. I have a question that I'm going to post to you probably tomorrow or Monday, just to get your feedback on how you're navigating through this. So it'll be a question from Stephen and myself. It'll have the Revolution branding on it, so you'll know it's official. And
Yes,
we
sir.
want you to respond back to us. Also, if you've got any subjects in mind, let us know about it so we can connect. You that are watching on YouTube, we're so glad that you're there. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also, find Stephen's channel. It's hiding out on YouTube somewhere, but it's
It's there.
Stephen Thurston. Find his channel and make sure you subscribe to. As a matter of fact, whatever you do to connect to me, make sure you do the same thing for Stephen, because I promise you, your life will be richer for it. So, Stephen, let's get into this, man. Our subject today is the power of disconnecting. And we want to talk about disconnecting to reconnect.
Sure.
Oftentimes, when people think about power, naturally we think about connecting.
Correct.
We think about electricity, energy. But there's something that happens with electricity called a power surge. That is when too much power is coming to a place that requires it, and it causes what's known as a short circuit. Literally, the power just goes out, it breaches the power because there's too much coming.
Yes.
Well, the same can be true in our lives. Sometimes we can be so purposeful and so passionate
Yes.
and so productive and so driven and so disciplined. And I know all of those sound like good things, and they are,
Right.
but it's possible to have too much of a good thing
Yeah, for sure.
to the point that you have a power surge, or you experience what psychologists call burnout,
That's it. That's it.
where you just have a mental and emotional paralysis where you've got all the tools to keep going,
That's
you
it.
just can't keep
You
going.
just can't. Yeah.
And so whenever you have a power surge, you literally have to disconnect the object that the power is going through. And you have to reconnect it so that the power can be recalibrated. Stephen, you wrote a very relevant, very timely book right in the middle of this pandemic. I was excited when you had discussed with me the concept, and when you got it out, I was like, man, I need it first. And I think I read it in one sitting, and then went back through it a couple of more times. But you wrote a book called Unplugged. It's a
Yes.
powerful missive for those who live on purpose. I think I just gave you a whole nother marketing. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Rick.
yeah, you're welcome.
The
It's
brilliance just flows. It just flows.
but it's a powerful missive for those who live on purpose. And what Stephen is dealing with in this book, because all of us had to pivot and go completely virtual. I've been saying uh, that we're not in virtual reality, but reality is now virtual.
Yes, sir.
So everything has shifted to virtual. The danger of that is we can experience overload and we
Yeah.
can get lost in this virtual matrix. And so he wrote this book called Unplugged. Just go to stephenjthurston.com to get the book. Now, understand, I want you to know now, the purpose of this conversation is not for us to sell more unplugged ebooks. But
Right.
however, we do want to sell more ebooks. The purpose of this conversation is to help you to understand the power of disconnecting. Some of you, because of your careers, because you have children at home that have been going to school literally even through the summer, you've had them participating in virtual camps. Um, some of you are entrepreneurs and you've been operating in the digital space. Some of you have not unplugged since March.
Yes.
And you don't think you need to take a vacation because you haven't went to the office or because you hadn't had to go to conferences and conventions around the country or the world, or because you hadn't had to put on a suit or carry. So you say, "Oh, I'm good," but you don't realize the power surge that has probably already taken place in your life, and you're on autopilot. And so, what we want you to do, we want to help you today maximize your potential, mobilize your purpose, and multiply your possibilities by telling you disconnect. It's time for you to unplug. So, Stephen, in this book, one of the chapters that I feel is most critical is chapter 7, where you talked about learning to connect with yourself.
Hmm.
And you shape this in a powerful, important, and prolific context and construct. And then you walk us through ways to connect with ourselves. But before we get to that, I'd like for you to talk about uh, in a exhaustive way, if you can,
Hmm.
talk about why it's so critical to connect with oneself. Because what's interesting to me, while we're busy connecting to everything and everybody else,
Sure.
all of us who are purpose driven
Yes.
can be guilty of not connecting with the most important person in our life, and that's ourselves. So, first of all, thank you for writing this book, this missive. I'm so grateful for that. But let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to connect with us.
Sure, man. Listen, when we all get in our cars, those of us who own automobiles, and we start the car, all of the lights on the dashboard light up. If you don't pay attention to it, next time you get in your car, notice that all of the lights on the dashboard will light up, and then they'll go out. That's the system running a very quick check to make sure all of the functionality is in place. If a light remains on, that sign, signal, red flag indication that you need to take that car in to be serviced, to have a diagnostic done so that they can diagnose what the issue is, what the distemper in the vehicle is, and then get it fixed. That works on vehicles. Here's the thing with human beings. We all go through that same process every time we wake up in the morning, every time we start the
Mm,
car of our day, of our life. There's a diagnostic check that takes place. Here's the failure. Many of us don't recognize that there's a light that's still on, that's requiring us to go in and get it checked out.
wow.
This is critical, Rick, as to why it is that we need to have relationships. We started out this whole piece of us connecting together here,
Right.
talking about purposeful partnerships and relationships and
Right.
collaboration. That's why it's important to have those types of relationships, because Rick could see something in me in our conversation that prompted him to say, "Your light is on. You
Right.
need to take a break. You need to get some rest." These are
Right.
transparent conversations.
Yeah,
And
it
so it
is.
came down to the preaching moment. It
Right.
was becoming extremely difficult for me to write sermons. They were pulling, they were draining.
Mm.
Before in the past, I could knock out a sermon quickly. No problem. Just run through, do a couple of them. I can have a couple of options for Sunday,
Right.
but just doing one was taking too much time, too much energy, too much pull from my power source. And that was the red flag. I needed a break, needed rest, needed relaxation. And that's the thing that I've always struggled with. I'm a workaholic. I function best when I'm working. I got multiple projects, multiple contracts. That's when I'm like really flowing, when I'm running on all 12 cylinders. I don't know how to shut down. I don't know what that looks like. And this is probably true for somebody that's watching today. You don't know how to stop. You don't know how to pause. You don't know how to take a break. You don't know how to recognize that your light is still on the dashboard, and there's nobody else around you who's bold enough, brave enough, or in tune with you enough to tell you, hey, your light is on. You need to have it adjusted. And what we have to recognize is that our productivity and our rest are intrinsically linked. Our productivity in
Yeah, I was
life
about to say that again.
and the rest that we take are intrinsically linked, because
Yes.
without rest, you end up losing motivation, you lose stamina, you lose your energy, you lose your vigor, you lose the creativity. And I was suffering from that. I could not get creative. I could not connect the dots. I couldn't make stuff happen. And what we often fail to connect is that when we don't have that rest, especially as leaders, it begins to impact every area of our life. We get so out of balance, we overcompensate trying to get the work done, that every other aspect, every other relationship ends up suffering in our lives. And so as leaders, as those who influence people in whatever capacity, whatever space you do it in, you have to engage in the process of rest. It's difficult because it seems like you're doing nothing. There's no
Right.
return on investment. You're not making any advancement. I get what that feels like. But we've got to stop looking at the short term and focus in on the long term.
Right.
Because when we go for these short term gains, I got the project done, I got the sermon done, I got the vision statement revamped, I got the new logo, whatever it is that you're going after, that's going to come back and hit you in the long term, as well as the relationships that you're connected to that aren't being properly fueled, properly engaged. They're going to come back in the long term and hit you upside the head because you did not create the needed balance in life to rest, rejuvenate, hit the reset button, come back refreshed so that you can continue to move down the road a little bit farther. The mind,
Stephen, if I can pause you right there,
yeah,
do you think that part of the issue here is we have to differentiate between working hard and working smart?
for sure.
I think that's very critical for us to understand because in the old paradigm of being productive, particularly how you and I were raised, because
Yes.
we have fathers who are highly competent, highly compassionate,
Yes. Yes.
um, very disciplined, and so because of that, we watch guys that get up at 4 in the morning, sometimes early if they ever get to bed,
Sure.
and go to the office and go to meetings and prepare sermons and teach and preach and counsel and love and do all of this stuff. And so we saw this paradigm of working hard, but even though they're brilliant, it wasn't necessarily working smart.
Correct.
And if you suggested working smart, they would probably say you're not working hard enough. You get what I'm saying? We're being
That,
very transparent here today.
Yeah,
So,
that's a super valid point, Rick. In my role as a project manager, what I often tell a new client is I'm going to come in and I'm going to set systems in place.
right.
And because there are two types of problems in any organization: people problems and process problems. I'm going to first start with process. I'm going to
Say
get your
that one more
process.
time.
Two types of problems in any organization: people problems or process problems.
Excellent.
Once you get the right processes in place, you'll then begin to clearly see who the people are. that are the problems.
Right.
And once I streamline things, get things running, my note to that leader, to that boss, that pastor, that CEO is you're going to begin to think very soon that your people aren't working. And it's because you're so used to them working hard, running on all cylinders, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I put things in place that streamlines everything. You're well planned out ahead. You don't have to work as hard. It's not crunch time all the time. And it never fails, Rick. They enjoy the benefits of it.
Right.
But the next conversation that I have is these people ain't working. We need to have an evaluation of our staff. No, they're just working smart. And we don't know how to differentiate the two and appreciate the
Right.
space that has been given once we put proper processes in place that allow us to flow in a more even fashion and smooth out life, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense because what I discovered is when you're just working hard, you're creating a life that you can enjoy.
Or sustain.
Yeah, or sustain. Exactly. Because pretty soon, what we're trying to prevent today is we're trying to prevent the power surge. We're
Yes.
trying to prevent the burnout. I'm gonna just be honest. My little brother shouldn't have went to the point. You get what I'm saying? And I'm just telling y'all what I told him.
Yes.
So, but he shouldn't have gotten to the point where he felt the way he felt. The reality was because of how he's wired, and we all have our own wiring. He deals with that in chapter 6. Just dealing with that Oh, I read the book.
Oh
Dealing
yeah.
with that
Oh yeah.
emotional, that emotional connectivity that's so critical. That emotional intelligence. Because sometimes, here's what'll happen. Sometimes your head will be telling you keep or you can do it because of your erudition, because of your intellect, because of your planning, and your head say, keep going, keep going. But your body and your emotions
Yeah.
and your physiology is saying, you better stop, or your head's gonna be out here by itself. Your head's gonna be trying to deposit a check that your body and your emotions and your psychology can't cash. They like, we out. I know you got
Yeah.
a sermon in your brain, but your mouth ain't working. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right. Yeah.
you
The
can't
mind, the
move.
body, the mind, the body, and the spirit are limited and can
Yeah.
only do so much, man.
Yeah, so we've got to work those things, and I appreciate you sharing not only what you shared in the book, but the bombs you're dropping right now because people really need to understand that you're not in this case less is more.
Sure.
Taking the time to unplug, taking the time to disconnect, taking the time to rest. And Stephen's going to get into, after he finishes unpacking, why it's critical for you to disconnect and to reconnect with yourself. He's going to give you some ways to do this as he's done this week. And I'm so very this is a personal conversation, you all, today. Y'all
Yeah.
just getting to listen in. This is not a revolution conversation. This is a Stephen and Ricky conversation. No doctor, reverends, none of that. This is us talking because
Yes.
this was very important to me for him as my brother and friend and colleague and somebody I love and admire. It's important for him to be here as it is important for me to be here. I'm blessed to have an amazing woman that walks alongside me uh, that can see when the power surge is coming.
Hmm.
So she
Yes.
stops it. So until my brother has that, uh, we got a village around him. Uh,
I appreciate you,
who's collectively checked. So don't try to show up to my Stephen. Let me take no. We got a village around him. We gonna ask for your resume. Let me leave that alone. It's really getting personal. I'm gonna stop before I get him in trouble.
man.
But we got him covered until he's covered is what I'm trying to say. But
Yes, sir.
it's so important, and
It is.
I would hope he would do the same for me, along with my
For sure.
wife. I would hope he would do the same for me and say, "Hey, Rick, you got to stop. You got to chill. You're about to blow." But
For
it's
sure.
very critical for you to have that. I think the whole of this podcast really comes out of our friendship and brotherhood, and that is productive partnerships. So
Yes.
you'll hear that through every podcast that we do is understanding the importance of having the right people around you so you can get the right results for your life. So, Stephen, walk us a little deeper into this.
Sure. So I think a lot of this boils down to our ignorance as it
Mm,
relates to rest, and ignorance from the etymological sense of the word.
good.
We again, as I said a few minutes ago, we view it as times of inactivity. Um, it doesn't add to value creation, or at least we think, because that's a myth. It does add to value creation.
It does.
And we need to recognize that rest isn't just sleep. Now, it's been
Right.
scientifically proven that Americans don't get enough rest, and that ends up impacting our health. You know, a lot of the illnesses that we endure are a direct correlation to the limited amount of sleep and rest we get. But rest isn't just sleep; it's also reflection and recreation. Those are two pieces that a lot of people often miss. And so this unplugging should be a time where we're reflecting, where we're allowing the Lord to speak to us, to kind of guide us, lead us, answer questions. I'll circle back to even my sermon writing preparation period, or if I'm writing a speech or something. Oftentimes, Rick, you'll testify to this. You write and you hammering that thing out. You may kind of get that writer's block and stuck at a point, and you trying to push through. And it's not until you take a break, take a nap, go to bed, get up the next morning, that it like releases the floodgates
Oh, yeah.
and begin to flow all over.
Yeah.
Rest allows you to create. And even from a psychological level, when we sleep, even those things that are pressing, our mind is actually still working and working them out. That's why when I wake up the next morning, that flow is able to come with what I'm writing and working on, because the mind has already worked it out in that period of rest and rejuvenation. And
Like I,
so,
I found out even for me, just taking a walk,
yeah,
man, I get so many ideas. Like I literally have to record them on my phone because there's so many things that I was already working on
yep,
that I'm able to work out. And I think that's very critical. Things that you're working on, projects you have in front of you now, find something you can do to work it out. And Stephen, you're a world traveler. So as a world traveler, you know that in the Mediterranean, in Southern Europe, and even in China, they take something called siestas,
that's it.
which is an early afternoon nap. In Italy, they literally close
It shuts
businesses
down.
down.
Yes,
You come there for lunch, they like we out to lunch.
exactly.
And they go home for 2 or 3 hours early afternoon and just chill. And
It's
you
chill.
got to do the same thing in your life in some way. You got to find a way to take a siesta, take a break. That's a t-shirt for you. Take a
That's it.
break, so that you can work out what you're working on, or else it's going to start working on you. My
That's right.
mother always says, I'll give a shout out to her. My mother always says, you need to break away before you break apart.
That's true.
And that's
Yes,
critical.
sir. That's critical, because we've got to value rest enough to proactively establish that habit, and then
Exactly.
put in place the structures that reinforce restoration, reflection, and recreation. And
That's
so
right.
we have to. Now, I was better at this actually when I was pastoring before. I had 1 day off a week, 1 week off a month, and 1 month off a year. I
Say
had
that one more time. That's good. Say it one more time.
I had 1 day off a week, 1 week off a month, and 1 month off a year.
Wow.
And that created the space that I needed to kind of move around and not reach that place of burnout. And as I reflect back in saying that, I had like literally like 5 jobs at the time. But because I created that strategic place and space for rest and rejuvenation, I was able to handle that. Now,
Right.
what's funny is when I look at right now, I don't have all of that going on, but I was reaching burnout at a much quicker rate
Mm.
because I also did not have structured space for rest and rejuvenation and relaxation and reflection. And so I think that's important. Now, I know we got some pastors that tune in, and Rick, let's address some of the dangers
Okay.
or the mistakes that are made when we try to rest as leaders. Here are a couple I think that you'll say amen to. Number one, we mistake rest for laziness,
Right.
and and the vice versa, laziness for rest.
Right. Because if you're somebody who are perpetually doing nothing, that's lazy. That's not rest. But then if you're somebody that's used to doing everything, you think rest is lazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Number two, using non-repeatable events as rest moments. For example,
Mm,
family vacation. Now,
right.
you know, you got your wife and your kids. It's work that you're going to have to put in.
Right.
That is not totally a period of rest,
Right.
or holidays. You got to entertain people. So you're not going to get no rest. And so we use these periods and say, oh, I'm going to get some rest. No, you're not. There needs to be that separate space where you're alone and totally disconnected,
And you know
because
what,
rest,
Stephen, on that point, I think they need to understand working away is not vacation. That's not
that's
rest.
it. That's where I was about to go next.
Oh, I'm
Exactly.
sorry. I didn't mean to get ahead. I just
No.
organically heard that.
Yeah, we on the same wavelength all
Okay.
the time, man. Because we'll see pastors take their sabbatical,
Right.
and it's supposed to be their time was shut down, but they use that sabbatical to work outside of work.
Right.
That's it. I'm gonna write my book then. I'm gonna work on, and I had to catch myself this week, because I got to get the content together for for the power pack for the Mirror Moment movement
Right.
for next month. And I said, all right, well, I got this little vacation time coming up. I'm gonna work on all my content. And I was good, Rick. I didn't touch a thing. I didn't even
I'm
open my
proud
laptop.
of you.
Thank you, sir. It was a major feat and accomplishment. Now that means this week I'm gonna have to
You
get
got to
back on
do
top
it.
of
Right.
the game, get stuff done. But at least I had that week of total shutdown, and I did cheat. I got on social media. I couldn't, just couldn't resist. But it's
It's
a
a lot
process. It's
going
like
on.
salvation. It's a
Right.
process.
you're you're saved. You're being saved, and you will be saved. You're in the process. So,
That's it. And then finally, just failing to plan to rest, because we devalue it, we undervalue it, we underestimate the benefits of it, and leaders fail to plan the rest. And we've got to be more strategic and specific in doing that.
you
To
know, it's
again, to,
interesting because even in us facilitating this subject, I'm sure there are some people watching going, well, I thought they were going to talk about something else. Their subjects are so engaging and intriguing and enlightening. But this subject is as critical as everything else you've heard us talk about. But we
exactly.
don't give it that priority. So y'all like, oh, yeah, they got a sleeper subject. Well, pun intended. You know, that's the point. We're trying to get you to decompress, to disconnect, because let me help you. That's where your power is. How many bad decisions have been made because a person was just mentally and emotionally depleted?
Yep.
And so your judgment is off. And you
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't have done that if I'd have just taken some time away or got away from it. And so we're trying to show you the urgency, even in pandemic,
Yep.
even while you're sitting in front of computer screens, even while it appears that you're immobile and isolated, it's still important for you to shut down and get away from it. That's very
And
critical.
you just made a major point. You talked about screens, and that's what the ebook deals a whole lot
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Unplugging from the digital space, getting back to the real world, and learning how to eliminate all of our time being spent with screen time. Having that space in the house where we just rest our phones here and we don't
Right.
take it in this room. Or, like, I know you've talked about, you don't sleep, you and your wife don't sleep with your phones in the bedroom,
No,
they're
sir.
outside, so that there's that disconnection, so that you're not tempted to scroll, to stream, to shoot out a quick text
To
message.
answer every call that comes through. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important to have that disconnected space so that you can again reflect and focus on self, and ruminate in that space of nothing,
Right.
and just be cool with nothing happening,
We're
nothing being.
we're but we're scared of that word right there. That nothing word. But what we don't understand is nothing creates everything.
True.
I can't resist. You just gave me low hanging fruit. Go to
Get
Genesis
it.
1.
Get it. Get it.
I can't resist it. But I mean, think about it. Out of the abyss of nothing,
Yes, sir.
God spoke everything that is into being.
Yes.
So that's a whole nother, that's a sermon. Pastors, if you preach that tomorrow, you got less than 24 hours to prepare it. So make sure I get my credit for at least inspiring the thought. Uh, but that's the power of nothing. The power of nothing is that it can create everything.
True.
And so while you there wrestling with something that you can't figure out, that you can't work through, how about step away from it? Go to nothing
That's it.
and see what nothing will reveal. You may discover that nothing is holding a gift that will make the something you're doing irrelevant.
Exactly, man. Where's the button? Da, 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 da. You need to take
I
You just knocked it all the way out the park.
forget to do it on myself, so you know. But no, this Stephen, I'm telling you, man, this is so critical. I know when you told me you were writing about this, I was like, every week I was like, "How the book coming? How's the book coming?" Because I felt like people needed to hear this because again, it goes back to what I talked about on Thursday night on my show Life Talks. I talked about the new abnormal because all of this pandemic, we've been dealing with the new normal, but we don't realize the new normal has systemically introduced us to a new abnormal. And that
Correct.
new abnormal is we've gone from ignoring the inevitable to now being unaccepting of the evident.
Yes, sir.
So we see the things that are there, and now we just say, it's sort of like ignoring the science. When
Right.
the science say this is what's going to happen next, and we've seen this all the way in the upper echelon, right,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
of
sir.
American politics, where you just totally disregard it. Ain't even inevitable; it's obvious.
It's here.
And
Right.
so in a different context, that's what we're having to deal with in this digital space. We've got a new abnormal because of the new normal of virtual being reality. We now have a new abnormal where we now govern our lives by this reality.
Correct. Yeah.
And if we're not careful, we make the virtual space our lives instead of it just being a channel for our lives.
Correct.
And we've got to address that. So talk to us before we get off concerning some practical ways for us to disconnect to reconnect. How we can reconnect with, because I let me tell you, Stephen, it's critical. I'm hearing from parents, I'm hearing from couples, I'm hearing from single people. Doesn't matter what the level or strata of life is, people are just kind of tired. I was watching Hard Knocks. Demi and I were watching Hard Knocks. She's an avid football fan, and we were watching Hard Knocks with the Chargers and the Rams, both in LA. And one of the coaches said, "Listen, I'm tired of this. Aren't you all tired of Zoom?" But at the same time, he was emphasizing the importance of the safety protocols, so that they could try to have some kind of season. But he was very transparent. He was like, "Listen, I'm just as tired of this as you all are talking to the players, but it's what's necessary." So I think all of us have grown a little weary of this, but we've got to learn how to navigate it, and we've got to be honest with ourselves. And when you need to step away, even on your job, you might just email whoever you articulate with and say, "Listen, I this ain't even my vacation week, but I got to, I'm
Sure.
not going to be on 10 Zooms a day." I mean, you know what I'm saying? like, like,
Correct.
like, go
And,
ahead.
leaders have to set the tone by
Yes,
one, taking vacation time and relaxation time themselves, and then creating that atmosphere and that context where rest, rejuvenation, relaxation is a part of the normal cycle, the normal
yes.
work cycle. So that context has to be created. But there's some very practical things that each and every one of us can engage in at whatever level we feel most comfortable to start the process. It really boils down to becoming familiar with yourself and being familiar with being alone and comfortable in silence. So
Wait,
go
whoa,
for
no, whoa, hold on. Don't rush. Say that one more time and put it on slow jam. Say it one more time.
you've got to get better at becoming familiar with yourself. So being in tune with yourself, having the mirror moment, having those periods of introspection, and familiar with being alone and comfortable in silence. Turning off the noise
Yeah.
and kind of being with you, just solo. So an example of that is going for a ride, whether that's in your car, you go out to the store, buy your bike. Somebody may be having a midlife crisis and they want to get a motorcycle, convertible, whatever you want to do your thing, slingshot. But take that hour to
Right.
just not bring any electronic devices. If you're in your car, turn the radio off, turn the satellite radio off, open up the sunroof, and just ride and just enjoy the scenery, nature. Let the wind blow through your hair, your wig, your weave, whatever you got going on. enjoy those natural sounds
Right.
that are around you. Get replenished that way. If you're one of those persons that just got to have somebody around you, even if they're not in your immediate space, find in a cafe. But don't do something in your local area. Just drive out. If you're in the Chicago
Right.
area, some of y'all ain't never been past, Roosevelt Road. Go
Ooh,
up to
this is
Sheridan
good.
Road.
Right.
Go drive up to Burr Ridge. Go to Naperville. Go to some far out place. Go down to Bourbonnais. Just get in the car and drive. Find a cafe, a local cafe, and just kind of chill and take a book, something that you wanted to read, just didn't have the time. Make the time.
As a matter of
Um,
fact, when you're unplugging, go ahead and read Unplug. And I want you all to download it now. I'm not joking. StephenJThurston.com. Go ahead and I'm serious. Make that your weekend reading because here, okay, let us bring this to a grim reality. And we're a positive podcast, okay? But I want to deal with a grim reality. I want to deal with the elephant in the room so that we're not guilty of the new abnormal. It is being said, we're praying and hoping that it won't be true, but it is being said that in October there will be a second wave.
yeah,
They are attributing that wave to what will possibly happen next weekend with Labor Day. Because people have cabin fever. They like, I'm getting out. They're going to try to head to the beaches, do whatever. And they're saying it could be a spike. We're hoping it's not. The reason I'm saying that is because if there's ever a time for you to disconnect and really recalibrate emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally, the time is now. So as Stephen gives us these next few things that you can do, these ideas, take this to heart. But go and I want you to get this book this weekend and read it so that you will have a map. Because Stephen, I believe that's what you wrote. It's not only a missive, but it's a
sure.
map.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you, you created a guide that can help people navigate this time and get some balance in their life while they're operating in terrain they've never been in before.
Sure. And it actually comes with a workbook too, Rick. So
Oh,
that helps
excellent.
to further
Yeah, he didn't
drive.
he didn't give me the workbook, so I've got to go buy it somewhere. I'm gonna go find it.
I'll make sure I send it to you, man. But
Or
that
just
that
just show me how to buy it. I'll get it. So
so that workbook is there to help to navigate people who may again have difficulty putting these steps in place to continue to walk that path. What I did over the past week was I created my own retreat. I wasn't comfortable jumping on the airplane, so I
right,
stayed local, but I drove out to one of those suburbs that's like an hour and a half from my house, got a hotel room there, and just kind of bunkered in. Um, Tried my best not to have my phone. I would check it once a day, and just kind of see what was going on. But you can, it's called a staycation. Just go somewhere and just kind of seclude yourself, um, and disconnect for
you
that
did
period of.
good because I didn't get a text until you got back. So in my book, you got an A. So normally we would have texted a few times.
We got an
Oh
intruder.
wow,
Bishop,
Bishop,
Bishop.
how are
Hey,
you, sir?
I'm great. How you doing?
Great to see you. I'm doing phenomenal, doing well.
We
Wonderful.
talking about taking rest today. This is something you don't really know how to do.
Right. I'm gonna get it from him though.
You gonna learn it from him?
That's right.
There you go. That's how we
Bless
do
you,
it.
man.
Bless you, sir. Good to see you.
So yeah, just taking that time since my dad popped in, I'll tell this funny story. So while I was living in Atlanta, I was in school at Morehouse.
Okay.
There was one of my buddies who graduated from Morehouse who pastored there, and he brought my dad in to preach revival. So
Okay.
this was back when we were doing 5 night revivals.
Oh wow.
So my dad was doing Monday through Friday in Atlanta. Church started at 7 p.m. Well, he had double booked that week. He was also preaching a noonday revival in Houston, and so he would fly. He flew from Houston, from Chicago to Houston that Monday morning, preached noonday, flew to Atlanta, preached 7 o'clock, jumped back up the next morning, and he flew back and forth every day. And it wasn't like he was preaching the same message,
Right.
in the same day. That was two different messages every day for 5 days, 10 messages on the plane every day, back and forth. And he did it just like
Right.
normal, just like no fatigue, same energy at
Right.
both services. So when we talked early on about us kind of being programmed for this workaholic
Right.
drive, that's kind of where I got some of that from. And then I worked for Reverend Jesse Jackson, who even at his age now will probably outpace
Oh God.
people
Yeah.
in their
Insane.
20s in terms of energy and travel and
Right.
move, all of that. So I was working with both of them crazies in terms of not resting and
Right.
rejuvenating and relaxing. So it's something that you have to condition yourself to do, to take that time of rest and disconnecting and unplugging so that you're good to go further down the road.
Right. And we're here to walk with you. So anything we can do to help you walk out this path. Stephen, I believe people are at a place now where they really need coaching.
Yeah,
Uh, they
sure.
really need mentorship and they really need partnership, as you and I are demonstrating and have been emphasizing through the course of these 24 episodes on this podcast. You've got the Mirror Moments movement. Tell people how they can subscribe to that and then tell them
Sure.
about your weekly podcast that you have.
Awesome, man. So yes, StephenJThurston.com, you'll see a tab there that says Mirror Moment Movement. What that will give you access to is a portal. In this portal, you can choose relationship, leadership, or you can do both of them. And you'll get a power pack every month. Power pack is inclusive of a video teaching, ebook, workbook, assessments, assignments, links to other resources. I mean, it's the works, and you're getting all of that for $30. I mean, that's the price of a book, a nice book in the store. And so you're getting more than you can bite off. And that's through the Mirror Moment movement. And then on Tuesday, at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, we've got Mirror Moment. That's our Facebook Live session where, maximum of 20 minutes, I'm teaching a lesson and we rotate week to week between relationship and leadership. So you want to plug into that. Now, let me give a warning. This week, we're going to change the day. I'm going to actually do Mirror Moments on Monday. I'm having wisdom teeth taken out Tuesday. I don't know when I'll
Oh,
be able to
wow.
talk and sound like I got some sense. So I didn't want to have that surgery Tuesday morning,
Nah, you didn't
get
want
on
to do
Tuesday
that.
afternoon, and I'm
No.
drooling and fumbling. So this week we're gonna hit it on Monday and get you that information
And
that
that's
will help.
at 3 p.m., right?
3 p.m. Central Standard
So
Time.
join him this Monday, 3 p.m. So, Stephen, if there's a leader, a pastor, an executive uh, that's on this live or that's going to watch this, and they just want to reach out to you directly, maybe they need some project management or they need
Sure.
some leadership mentorship, is there an email or how can they contact you directly?
Sure. My email is on the website. You can go to StephenJThurston.com, or if you want to just get it right now, Stephen at StephenJThurston.com. Shoot me that email and I'm happy to plug in with you, connect with you. Rick, you do some amazing things with strategy, structure, empowerment, coaching.
Thank you, sir.
Tell the people how they can get in with you because you're going to get them where they need to go.
Thank you, Stephen. RickyAllmon.org. My email is info@RickyAllmon.org. Both Stephen and I are engaging in this virtual space, so we're available for virtual conversations, virtual conferences, and we got some coming for you too as
Oh,
leaders.
yeah.
I promise you, it's going to be life changing. It's going to be transformative. On every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have life talks where we just encourage you to explore your potential, engage your passions, and expand your possibilities so you don't want to miss life talks. Matter of fact, just go over to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then I want you to connect to the Impact newsletter. Just text the word Ricky Allmon, my name, no spaces, to 22828. Ricky Allmon to 22828. And I've got some stuff coming up in the month of September, October. I'm not even putting it out for everybody else. It's just going to be for you. But thank
Yeah.
you all for joining us. And again, this has been The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It will be streamed with my brother and friend, Reverend Stephen Thurston, yours truly, Dr. Ricky Allmon. Y'all go have a great Saturday and disconnect so you can reconnect. Get my brother's book. I got the last word, he didn't. Have a great weekend.
Uh-huh.